from my own experience, there were people that were kicked out of the garden of God because they stole from God. They weren't supposed to be in the garden of God to begin with. They were aliens that were murderous and hateful towards God. And they considered themselves God's people, but they aren't. They were taking of God's fruitful abundance. And God did not give them permission to do that because God needed fruitful abundance for God only. God is the gardener only, but they would do things and allow aliens to chop the garden and to take from the garden that is not theirs. And the ones that were banished from the garden were not Adam and Eve, but aliens that invaded the garden of God, that claimed the garden of God for themselves. And God's blood cried out against them. They were destructive towards God's creatures, the living creatures of the earth. They would slay the creatures in the garden of God. So in the garden of God there was bloodshed against God and God's creation. So religious teachers teach things that they know nothing about. It's not based on their own experience, but based on presumptions and lies. God did not say partake, because that fruit was of the information of God, from God's body and soul, blood, for God only, not for anyone else. So a curse fell upon everyone involved. These aliens, alien peoples, who look through the Godhead to take what God's and to take credit for what God did. The whole time, these alien peoples saw the need and needs of God, but they took from the supply of God. While God was in need. You see how wicked that is? That is why literally sees the needs of God and did not meet the needs of God, would take from the supply of God. Not from their own supply, but literally they took from the supply of God. As their own supply. And that's how they would live, is by stealing, killing, and destroying God. But God kept coming back. With wrath against God's enemies, not compassion or love. So that's my non-religious rendition of the garden of God, which they call Eden.